On April 9, 2014, over 6,000 calls to 911 went unanswered, and 11 million Americans were left without the ability to call emergency services for 6 hours overnight. Worst of all, the entire outage could have been resolved almost immediately. We take for granted the fact that when we pick up our phones and dial 911, someone will always be there to send help. It's a deeply unsettling feeling when the things we take for granted are no longer available. To understand how the outage occurred, we first have to examine a Colorado-based business called Interauto. Interauto makes money by handling the annoying bits of determining which 911 call center a call should be routed to on behalf of the telecommunication service providers. When you dial 911, the service provider sends your call to Interauto, who then determines where to send your call next. This system ensures your call gets routed to the correct 911 call center and not halfway across the country. Interauto provides this service primarily through its Emergency Call Management Center in Colorado. On the night of the outage, the center had been operating normally. Every time it received a new call, a unique ID was given, and the correct call center was determined before being sent off. However, at 11:54 p.m. Pacific Time, the software did something its creators thought was impossible. It reached its limit for call IDs, stopped routing calls, and for the next 6 hours across 7 states, 11 million people were unable to call 911. The computer that assigned unique IDs for each incoming call had been given an upper limit of 40 million, something its software developers thought was impossible to reach, and something that hadn't been reached until that night in 2014. Without the ability to assign new IDs to every call, the center started dropping calls. Interauto had a backup center in Miami for cases like this. They could have started routing calls to Miami, which would have immediately solved the problem, but instead the call center was dropping calls for 6 hours. After the blackout, Interauto made several changes to prevent this from happening again. These changes included massively increasing the maximum number of unique IDs, creating an alarm based on the percentage of successful calls handled over a 15-minute period, and rerouting calls to another management center if the current one cannot handle the requests automatically. Hey, I should smash the like button and subscribe for more content.